Welcome, everyone, to episode 4 of the Goulet Pencast, where fountain pens are still a thing. I'm Brian Goulet.
And I'm Drew Brown.
And we're here from Goulet Pens to deliver the casual and informal, tangential and extraneous, superfluous and extemporaneous fountain pen show, where we talk about what's going on at the Goulet Pen Company and in our fountain pen lives. In today's show, we're going to get your feedback, whether we like it or not, talk about each of our own choice of FrankenPens. We have a bunch of Q&A questions from you all, and we got one of Drew's hypotheticals. So it'll be an exciting show. No quizzes this time, though that was pretty fun last time. We don't feel like doing another hour and 40-minute show, so
God,
we're going to try to make it a little shorter, and I hope we succeed. So, Drew, we're also reformatting the show just a tiny teensy little bit. We're going to have the personal stuff towards the end of the video. So if that's not as much of your thing, you can just duck out early, and that's cool. We're going to get right into the pen stuff. So let's start it off talking about some feedback. Drew?
Feedback. Well, Brian, we did ask some questiones last episode, some of which were answered. One thing we did discuss was whether or not we could try to find a different way to say eyedropperable or eyedropper fillable or able to be eyedroppered. Brian posed that to our audience, and our audience did indeed answer. By far, maybe not by far, but I feel like the most popular term that came back as a suggested replacement would be barrel filler, which I actually really like. Another option was direct fill, body fillable, or injectable. All of these I think are more accurate and better than eyedropperable. But the question is, will one stick? Do we want to try to get one to stick? Or even we capable? Probably not. But I do like barrel filler. I think that you can't really mistake barrel filler as long as you know what the barrel is.
True. I mean, is that the common term that everybody knows as to like
barrel,
the body of the pen? Body filler just sounds like it's like Bondo or something, like a car, you know, the like paint stuff you put on the car and sand it off. Like that's what I think of with body filler. You know what I mean?
Yeah, probably not body. Injectable? What about injectable?
Injectable, like there's already so many like drug addict related like terms used in the pen world. Like
I was thinking fuel injection, but okay, we can go there.
Yeah, too. I was thinking injectable, like syringe,
direct fill.
Direct fill?
Direct fill.
I don't know. Direct. That to me that's too open interpretation. I don't know.
All right. Well,
I mean, they're all appropriate within that context, but I'm thinking like if I didn't know any of this stuff, none of these would make sense to me if I wasn't already in the pen world. You know what I mean?
Well, neither
does eyedropper.
Eyedropper. So really,
I don't know.
Regardless, none of them are going to make any sense, and it's not a common method of filling anyway.
Yeah,
so.
It is kind of a hack anyway.
And we've talked to folks, you know, pen folks, manufacturers, and distributors and such, and when we have asked them in the past, hey, is this eyedropper fillable? They look at us like we're crazy. We're like, what? People ask. It's a thing, but it's not as much of a thing as it sometimes seems like it is. Anyway, let's move on. We're probably not going to replace this thing anytime soon, but
it's like 100 years of being called an eyedropper filler. It's like that we're going to replace it.
But maybe we'll just do a different one every time.
We'll see. Maybe if it catches on, who knows?
Brian, you got a lot of birthday wishes on the last episode.
Aw, thanks.
So congratulations for being alive one more year.
Thank
Everybody
you.
was very happy that you're still with us.
I tried really hard not to die, you know.
Good job.
Which was harder in the past year than it's been in other years. So, you know, that was not a small feat. I actually did intentionally make changes in my life to not die. So, you know, being quarantined and so on. So not to make light of that whole situation, but, you know, felt like an actual birthday. And
well, I think if anybody out there survived 2020, you can give yourself a pat on the back.
Indeed. And this is kind of a fun time. We talked about this in our personal message this week in our newsletter, but there's this fun little time. Rachel was born 17 days after me. So it's really fun for this like 2.5 week period that I get to make fun of her for being so young and naive. And she talks about how old and out of touch I am. So we're still in that magical period right now. That'll last for a couple more days.
Nice. One other comment we actually got two folks at least who said that they take washi tape and wrap it around their grip sections if they find them to be too slippery. We discussed metal grip sections, and somebody had asked us in the Q&A segment if there were any tips or tricks that we knew of that could make it not slippery. And washi tape was a recommended option.
Now, Drew, what is washi tape for those who don't know?
You know what? It's pretty tape that people use in their
it's like a paper,
journaling
it's like a paper
adventures.
Tape. Yeah, it can be. I think it can be paper. I think it can be some kind of plastic as well. I'll be honest, I'm not
a matte.
Yeah, I'm not a washi expert myself, but it's meant for like, decorative purposes on paper, things like scrapbooking and journaling and stuff like that. It's very common. We don't carry it, but we know people who do.
Yeah, it's in the fountain pen Venn diagram. There's some crossover there.
A little overlap.
So I thought that was a good idea. Ink Stains on YouTube mentioned when we were talking about white ink and whether or not there could ever actually be a white ink that was fountain pen friendly. Ink Stains mentioned that the Boston Safety Pen from Noodlers exists, and that pen, while I personally have not tested this, claims to flow with some pen ink that's not usually fountain pen friendly, like India ink and stuff like that. So it's possible that if you did want to get thick white ink, it may go through the Boston Safety Pen.
Well,
but that pen,
the nature of the question, if I'm remembering correctly, was like, why haven't fountain pen ink companies developed a white ink? It wasn't like, why can't I use white ink in a fountain pen?
Right.
So this is sort of a tangent to that. Yes, technically you could use the Boston Safety Pen. Again, this is off of a design of the safety pen from like the early 1920s and stuff, where they were designed to be used with India ink, lawyer's ink, whatever you want to call it, China ink. Basically heavily pigmented, maybe non-water-based ink that was meant for like permanent documentation purposes, which, traditional calligraphy ink could fall under that. Nathan designed the Boston Safety Pen in that similar fashion. So yes, it is a fountain pen. Yes, you can use some thicker, non-water-based inks, with the caveat that you have all the same issues if you're using a non-water-based fountain pen ink, like a calligraphy ink or something like that. In a Boston Safety Pen, if it dries out in that feed, you're gonna have problems. Like, it still is gonna cause flow issues and things like that if it's not handled with like the appropriate level of consideration, because you're still trying to flow that ink through a pen as opposed to dipping it like you would a calligraphy, dip pen, metal nib kind of thing. So it's got a lot of caveats to it. Technically, you could use, but that's using calligraphy ink. It's a little departure from the nature of the question.
Yeah, I just thought that had I had the foresight, I would have mentioned that last time when we were discussing it, because it's a thing. It's a thing out there. Yeah. It provides you with some extra
sort of a hack. Yeah.
Yeah. And Lynn on YouTube also really cut me deep with this YouTube comment, Brian, and said to me that Fuddruckers is on its way out and the cheese hasn't been the same since the 80s and 90s.
Ooh.
And man,
I would argue they're using the same cheese from the 80s and 90s. So I could dispute that.
That's or whatever. That gives me some hope.
Whatever pasteurized cheese product that may be in those pumps, who knows?
But man, that's a hard truth I wasn't quite ready for. So could you just take it a little easier on me, please? Like, throw me some softballs every now and then. I
got memories. I got deep cut memories of Fuddruckers as a kid. I remember. I mean, basically, my parents, they worked like insane hours. They ran a business out of the house when I was a kid. And well, as anyone who's working from home during COVID life right now, they can attest, like, any opportunity you can get to get out of the house, you get excited about that. So my parents, when they were like building their business, we didn't have a ton of money. So like the Fuddruckers had a deal with kids under, I think it was under 12, ate for free when you purchased an adult meal. So we could eat out as a family of 4 for like $11 or $12 or something like that.
I don't remember that. I just remember you getting a cookie and a hat.
It was Monday through Friday, I think it was, or Monday through Thursday. So I remember like multiple times a week eating at Fuddruckers. Was that the healthiest option? Maybe not, but we got excited about it, and my parents got out of the house. And
that's awesome. Do you remember getting the cookie and the hat though?
And the hat and and I remember they had a Bucky O'Hare arcade video game there, Drew. That's the only physical evidence I have in my life that Bucky O'Hare ever existed, aside from you.
Oh man,
because nobody remembers
Bucky O'Hare. Bucky O'Hare's quality.
That's right.
Another fascinating YouTube comment, Brian Aaron on YouTube mentioned that during our Tanuki conversation, Tom Nook from Animal Crossing, which both of our wives are pretty into, he's a Tanuki.
Yes.
You knew that?
I knew that, yeah.
We've been talking about tanukis. You never mentioned that.
I mean,
did Rachel know that?
He's like, it's a cartoony, kind of version of it. But yeah, it's
but
not
still,
like
tanukis don't come up much. I thought for sure in our many tanuki-ish conversations, you would have mentioned, oh yeah, the dude from Animal Crossing.
Yeah, there's also like there's
a
Tanuki Mario as well.
Well, yeah, I knew that.
Yeah. It just you're right. You're right about that. It's the kind of thing that
I just feel like
I just don't have Animal Crossing like deep cut details top of mind all the time. So like when something is mentioned, I don't immediately go to that. But like
fair enough.
Probably because my kids and Rachel are all so into it that I just like don't have to retain that information in my brain. You know what I mean? You know how it goes, Drew. It's like
it's their job.
You compensate like
okay.
Like just like Rachel doesn't have to remember anything about like wood or tools or like how to tie knots because like I'm super into that and she just doesn't need to care.
All right. Well, I'll blame Rachel for not alerting me to that bit of trivia then.
Oh, yeah.
All right. And then one more, and perhaps the most astounding bit of feedback that we got during the last episode was that nobody seemed to be bothered, upset, or totally driven away by the fact that we had an obscenely long episode. In fact, Brian, some crazy people out there even said, oh, it doesn't matter how long you do it, or you could go even longer. I mean, thank you.
Could we though?
But are you insane?
Oh my gosh.
Stop it.
I think it's time, Drew. I think it's time.
That.
I think we just need to mount a GoPro mount to our chest that just points at our faces. And we should just
We are not Truman showing this.
We should just walk around all the time, live streaming to the world.
Good evening, good night. Oh my goodness.
That's right.
So either way, thank you for your patience, by the way, for last time. But man,
apparently we don't have to thank them. They should be thanking us for recording the longest episode we'll probably hopefully ever do.
Yeah, we're not gonna try to find your limit. So thank you, but it will be different from now on.
We didn't try not to find the limit last time, but anyway. I also have some feedback. We're on a good start here, Drew, with these long feedback sessions. Anyway, I have some private feedback that we received as a response to the critical feedback we got last week. Kind of took that head on, tried to do it gracefully. Got feedback from the individual that contacted us offline. Again, I'll keep it anonymous, but they said, I'd like to thank you for acknowledging my negative pencast feedback on your most recent pencast episode. That's episode 3. I noticed your efforts to reduce the amount of time talking over each other right away, and it made watching the episode much easier. I don't know if we're doing that so far this episode, but we'll keep trying. In addition, I'd like to acknowledge that I heard your return feedback regarding the more informal nature of the pencast and have taken it to heart. Expectations are paramount in this world, and it's always worthwhile to make sure we set them appropriately. I'm absolutely positive I'll continue to look forward to watching new pencast videos as they evolve and further develop my newly found joy in writing in fountain pens. How cool is that? So active dialogue going on here. That's what I love about this medium is that we get to, broadcast to you all. You tell us what you like. We get to interact with you. It's pretty cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah. And then I have one other little thing. Somebody emailed us, her name's Alyssa. I'm really happy for the podcast, especially since it's nice and fun banter, which is hard to come by now that school is at home and I really only talk to my parents. So this is cool, a younger viewer. I'm also enjoying Goulet Nation and going back to all the old podcasts. Hearing about the kids is pretty cute. So I thought that was kind of cool and encouraging that we are, keeping folks company who maybe otherwise only have their parents to comfort them. So I'm sure your parents are cool, but I'm a parent myself and I know my kids don't always think I'm so cool, but hey.
No, you're definitely not.
It's like the parent dynamic, right? I mean, what's the expression? The older I get, the wiser my parents prove to be or something like that. So
absolutely.
It's definitely the case. Mm-hmm. All right. Moving on to the next segment. This is new stuff.
New stuff.
And we have some new stuff to talk about. One of which is the TWSBI Eco Lilac. So this came out. I don't know if we still have them, but they're a special edition. So they're going to come and go a little bit. TWSBIs have some stock issues, just like many everything everywhere right now is having some stock issues. But got the lilac. It's a opaque color. It has maybe like a 5% translucency, just barely, to where it has I don't know how to explain it, Drew, but it almost has kind of like a milky kind of finish to it. It's still very glossy, but it doesn't have a super harsh color sharpness to it. Like the colors it looks a little bit soft, would you say? So anyway,
yeah, like a
I thought that was interesting.
A pack of fruit snacks that every now and then has like one of those opaque ones, like the white shark that you'd get in those shark bite snacks. Now we're talking.
Wow, that is a '90s throwback. Real good right there. Shark bites.
Oh
wow.
Man,
That's
I want some
one.
shark bites right now.
I immediately like visualized it in my mind as soon as you mentioned it. That was exciting when you get those sharks in there. But yeah, you're right. It's definitely that.
Right?
Yeah.
The great white. And then later they came up with the tiger shark. All right, I gotta shut up.
Did they come
shark bites?
Did they ever do like a just sharks like shark bite thing? That's a good idea.
Shark bites were always just sharks.
No, but I mean like just great whites, like all great whites. You know, sort of like Lucky Charms.
Oh.
Lucky Charms has like only marshmallow cereal. Like it's just it's like terrible.
Oh
it's
God! Like I can accept the crunch berry only, but marshmallows only. That's
a thing. Man.
Excessive.
Yeah,
oh
it's America. I know it's pretty bad.
All right.
Other new things that we have. So Diplomat has come out with a new arrow, very popular pen. I would say it's their flagship pen. And so they came out with these striped black. And I really wanted to talk about this because it needs a little splaining because it's not just like painted stripes on the thing. There's actual depth to it. So if you're familiar with the
Splain
arrow,
away.
Yeah, if you're familiar with the arrow, it's got these like gouges that are kind of cut out of it, right? So there's like scoops, flutes, if you will, and
flutes.
It's no different on the stripe black. So essentially the process, what they did for the stripe black is they anodized the whole thing black and then they polished away the raised portion, I guess, and they left the relief cuts or the flutes black. So you still get this kind of cool, kind of like polished aluminum, or not really polished, but like what's the word, Drew? It's like a buffed aluminum. It's got like, you can see some of the scratches and stuff. It's not like a highly polished.
Yeah.
It's a brushed aluminum. So it's like
brushed.
a brushed finish on the silver part, and then it's a deep black that you will feel the difference in your hand because the flutes are actually a relief cut. So I don't know, kind of interesting. It's definitely more work for them to do it that way, but they left it the same price at $180, all the same nibs and everything that they have on their other arrows. So it's kind of a cool thing. And I thought, if you're interested in the arrow and you just wanted to see something new that they were trying, that is something new. And theoretically, they could do that in other colors and stuff in the future. Who knows? But, they're always coming up with ideas for the arrow. So I thought that was cool.
That is cool.
Yeah. Another new thing that we're going to have coming in May at some point is the Regatta, which is, if you're familiar with the pen, it's a magnetic cap that has this like glorious clink sound. I know you're a big fan of that, Drew.
Yeah, I am not a big fan of that pen. I think it's pretty obnoxious, but every time I get one in my hand, I can't put it down. So maybe I am.
It's definitely a tinkerer's pen. It's not like you're not going to want to write your NaCoWriMo, session with this thing, and it's a little back heavy and stuff like that, but it does look freaking cool. And
it's so much fun to post.
And when you get a full abalone on this, it just looks fantastic. And, this was the sample. We haven't gotten the full shipment in yet to really be able to review them, but basically abalone, it's a shell. And so they can't it's not round like this. So they have to cut it into strips. And then they've laid out the strips next to each other to try to continue the pattern as much as they can. So again, I don't know if this is just the sample that we got or whether they're all going to be like this. I'm hoping they're going to try to do this with as many of them as they can. But the fact that they even have the cognizance to have it almost kind of like wrap the pattern around is pretty darn cool. So $132 for this pen for a full abalone pen like that is pretty rad, or full baloney, as Drew and I like to call it. So limited edition, numbered on the pen, out of 500. And then if you're into the abalone look, but you think full abalone is just a bit much, they're going to be coming out with, Monteverde is doing a non-Goulet exclusive version that's going to be alternating abalone and carbon fiber, because the carbon fiber thing kind of goes way back to their roots. So they're doing that, and we'll carry that one as well. And that's coming. And then the last one I have is the Edison Premier. This is another exclusive of ours. And this is an Ecto Purple. So this is up on our site, but we haven't gotten them in yet and launched them yet, but it's coming soon. So this, yes, indeed. So this is a diamond cast material. If you're familiar with Tim McKenzie's, diamond cast material, it is that. It's a million frickin' diamonds, Drew. That's the
throwback reference.
Throwback reference.
Episode 1.
Yep. And yeah, it's a limited edition, only 150 pens. They will be numbered, and nice purple, black, and white kind of silvery swirl going on there, and it just really cool. So we're happy to be able to do that. Haven't done a limited edition, numbered limited edition with Edison in a while, so pretty excited about that. Yeah, that's what I got, Drew. How about you?
For sure. Yeah, I've just got a ton of rickshaw stuff, Brian. So I'm obviously really excited about our new koozie case. So this is our exclusive synthscape.
That's kind of
this is our exclusive synthscape.
Pretty attractive design there, Drew. I got to say,
it's all right.
Credit to the creator of that one.
And it was designed by yours truly, but it is a case for your cases. So it opens up, and then you put pen koozies in the koozie case. So we've got this. We had this available still do have this available as a 3-pen case, but now we've got it as a koozie case, whereas before we only had one available with the Goulet ink in water sort of thing.
There you go.
And we also decided to pick these up. So these are rickshaw pen koozies or pen sleeves, and they're just plain old black, but with a little bit of exciting stuff here in the middle, which is Rickshaw's Royal Plush, which if you have not felt one of these, you are going to have your life change because they are amazing. And really, if you want to take good care of your pens, this is the way to do it. So we've got them in a 3, a 2, and a 1, all with different colors inside of them. So we've got orange, pink, and a beautiful, beautiful teal. Peacock, I believe it's called. So we have these, and then, of course, you can pick up as many of these as you want, shove as many as you can into one of these, and you've got a nice modular system for your pens. We went with these because we realized that the ink and water thing, while beautiful, isn't the right fit for everybody. So we figured that, straight up black will be more appealing for folks. We also picked up the very, very professional 3-pen case in this delightful gray tweed. So if you feel the need for tweed, this is what
Drew.
you are going to need to get right here.
That's good. That's good.
Mark, I'm pretty sure Mark Dwight over
it invites itself. Put that on his. It needs to be said.
Yeah, I think he put that on Instagram a couple times. But anyway, this is really good, and I really love the feel of this too. All the cloth is really good. The stitching is really amazing.
You would love the feel of tweed.
I do. Mm-hmm. I do. You don't need to say I would because I said I did, and I do. So
yeah. You know what, Drew?
Anyway.
Drew, those pen the koozie cases, the black ones. You know what those remind me of? So I watch a lot of Planet Earth and Life in Color and stuff like that. Basically anything David Attenborough will narrate. Big fan.
Well, then you're a good human. Yeah. Everybody should watch Dave.
It reminds me of like the Birds of Paradise, where they're like all black, but then they just like flash their crazy stuff for their ladies.
Especially this one.
Yeah. Exactly. That's exactly what that reminds me of. It's like very unassuming, and then you open it up and you're like, I'm incredible.
Yeah. Creates this little dance floor and just goes nuts.
That's right.
I know what you're talking about.
That's right. It's pretty cool.
I got you.
It's pretty cool.
I got you. We're also picking up more stuff. So I don't know if you're familiar with the no borrow pen sleeve. It is essentially a rickshaw single pen sleeve that says, no, you cannot borrow my pen. Brian's got it right there.
The OG.
Brian's got the original.
I got the OG.
The OG. We also picked them up in purple and a blue. So because it wasn't bright and ignorable enough, you can get them in different colors now. Also, keeping with the individual pen sleeve thing, Rickshaw has come out with a buzz thing. Hey, I've got one right here. A buzz sleeve to go with their buzz pen. And my favorite part about this pen is that it's got the cute little bear face on it. And I love him because he's also on the finial of the pen. You probably cannot see that, but it's a bear and he's adorable and you need him in your life.
Totes adorbs.
Rickshaw. Yes, Rickshaw and Retro 51 also are collaborating with this and this and this. These are dog and cat and dog and cat. Cat, dog, cat, dog. Pen sleeves. So this was to go in conjunction with Retro 51's newly released Cat Dog Rescue Series 4, which have similar designs. So like the Buzz, you can match your pen with your sleeve. So those will be available ongoing. You can get one with your pen, or if you just want a dog and pen case but don't want a dog and cat pen case, pen.
You definitely said dog and pen.
You don't need to buy the pen if you don't want to. Yeah, anyway, lots of rickshaw, which is cool and exciting and fun. Always good to have a new way to express yourself.
I mean, maybe you're not into pens and you just want to put your like bully sticks or something in the dog and the cat pen. I wouldn't.
Those things smell.
Yeah, they definitely have a smell to them. Yeah.
You can put, go ahead. Put your Slim Jims in there. Why not? And then we're going to be picking up some new Bennu. So they will be new. The Talisman is coming out in June, and it is a true Bennu pen. It is a number 6 nib. It has these kind of fun, I guess they're facets. They're kind of...
Yeah, they're like tapered facets. They're like...
Yeah, that's like scooped out facets. Yeah. But it's really neat. It kind of looks like an antique glass sort of design. I find it really nice. And it's got all of the things you have come to expect from Bennu, some glow-in-the-dark stuff, some sparkly stuff. But they'll be here in June. They're good pens.
Number 6 nibs. Number 6 nibs, the larger nibs. So they're definitely pumping those out more, which is great to see.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm very happy to see that. And then the Peniter Alchemist, which is a big deal, something that has been long anticipated from Peniter. It is basically, they're marketing it as very material centric. So this pen is made up of zeolite, which is a combination of, or I don't know the details of it, but it's water and lava, or water and volcanic mixing together. There's this whole big yin yang thing with water and lava. It's a unique material, essentially, is what I'm saying. But that'll be coming down the pipeline. I don't know if we have a date for that yet, but
end of the month. But I don't know that we have a firm date. Yeah. It's coming. There'll be more information coming out about that. You know, Dante's even thrown the idea of like doing a video together on it. We've still got to coordinate that, but that could be possibly coming as well, and he can explain it.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of information. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of information to give out on that one, so you will hear more about that for sure.
Definitely. Good stuff, Drew. All right, we are rolling right along here. Now we're going to get into the Q&A portion of the show, and I'm going to kick it off with question number 1. Some fountain pen enthusiasts have said that elastic pen loops can cause damage to fountain pens and should be avoided for long-term or frequent storage. We're talking about pen cases here. Is it better to use penvelopes or sleeves like rickshaw over those like Aston and Girologio? And I picked this question, Drew, because I know you have feelings about your pen cases.
I do. I have here a Franklin Christoph saddle boot leather pen case that I absolutely love. I bought this at a pen show years ago, but the elastic on here is super tight, and I've been using it. I've been using it for years. I have expensive pens in here. I have a Mont Blanc in here. I have Homo sapiens in here. Nothing has been damaged. So. That being said...
Well, Drew, that's because that resin is precious, so you have to,
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, so precious. It's precious. That being said, Brian, if some particulate, and granted, I don't actually, use and reuse this a ton. It's more for storage, so there is that caveat too. But let's say something got in between that tight elastic band and the pen, and the pen went in and out of it. Feasibly, absolutely, yes. You are creating friction on something that is very tight. And if you have something vintage, maybe something that is a little bit more heat sensitive as well, something that tight could end up warping something, down the line. This has been kept in my office, so no harsh conditions at all. I don't use and reuse it a ton, so probably not the best example, but nothing bad has happened so far. That being said, you cannot beat the coziness of a rickshaw case. And I know I sound like a rickshaw fanboy when I say that, but realistically, there's no stress being put on it. Now, and there are pen cases that achieve that as well, but they also don't keep it in place. So you can go with something like an elastic band, which keeps it really tightly in place, or you could go with something like more of a pen tray. Visconti has made those, Esterbrook has made those, Peniter as well. But then you do get upward and downward movement. You can't really shake them around. They're going to move up and down. There's going to be some wiggle room there. So, but then again, nothing is tight on them. However, with rickshaw, it's just tight enough to keep things straight, keep things padded and together. And with separate channels, nothing's bumping into each other, so you don't have the possibility of something getting clamped on to its neighbor, but yet you don't have any movement. and it's nice and cozy. So I really do think it's the best of both worlds.
There you go. So me personally, I have a lot of pens. I have a lot of pen cases, different types of pen cases. I personally cannot recall like specific like pen trauma that I've experienced from any type of elastic loop or anything like that. As long as it's like not fallen apart and the pen's fallen out of the case, I haven't really noticed any particular like damage or wear or anything that's happened due to a, elastic band or anything like that. I think kind of where I fall is like, okay, if you really care about that, sure, go towards, a rickshaw or something like that, and then you just will never have to worry about it. However, that said, if you're looking at storage more for like bulk storage, you're talking like 20, 40, 96 pen cases, you're not going to get away from an elastic band of some kind. Because when you get into like the storing many, many, many pens, the only secure way to really do that is to, have an elastic band, because it just holds it firmly in place. And usually when you're storing bulk pens like that, you're not pulling every pen out every single day. So you're not going to be interacting with any one pen probably that much. So it's of less concern. So I would say, me personally, I tend to gravitate towards sleeves and, like I got a little Girologio 2-pen case here that like doesn't have a band, and that's fine for a 2-pen case. I'm more likely to take these 2 pens in and out and in and out many times, whereas if you have it, it's really the friction of like moving the pen in and out where it's going to put stress on the clip going over an elastic band, and that elastic band itself could theoretically scratch the pen. So I think, basically, if you're going to use the pen a lot every single day, maybe lean towards something that doesn't have an elastic band if you are that concerned about it. And for your bulk storage, I actually prefer the elastic bands for the security of them. For like a, Girologio 96 pen like briefcase, I wouldn't really want this like not secured and with a band, because then basically you'd have the potential for things to rattle around and fall out. With this many pens, you just couldn't. I couldn't have a 96 pen rickshaw sleeve. I don't know, what would that even look like? I mean, I think they did a Retro 51 case thing, but that's like, it's like the size of a pillow. I mean, it's like not as practical. It's cool, but it's like
it looked like half of a fire log.
It's definitely cool, but it's like, you're not going to carry that thing around, So it's like there reaches a point where it's maybe not as practical, but great question though. I thought it was worth answering. Drew, what's the next one?
For sure. Next up, we have a question where someone asks, I was wondering how fountain pens work with handcrafted rag paper. As you may well know, rag paper is made out of shredded and processed textiles and is often from enthusiast-managed paperworks of very high quality. How does your standard fountain pen work on these papers? Is there a special type of nib pen recommended? What kind of ink should one use?
Do we well know how rag paper is made?
No.
I'll be honest, I kind of selected this question for you, Drew, partly to...
Why?
For you to ask to me. No, it's interesting because we do get asked about random types of paper.
For me to ask you.
For you,
yeah. Go for it. Have fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I set myself up for this one. No, I mean, so I'll admit, rag paper, I don't 100% know what that means. I'm assuming it means like cotton rag paper, basically made from, again, like some sort of textile. So you're talking about some sort of cotton paper. So the issue with any type of natural paper fiber, which most paper is wood pulp, right? But you can also do it from cotton. You can do it from, theoretically other things. So there's often some cellulose base to your paper that the ink is going to absorb into. So the thing is with wood pulp, there's often like a clay mixture that's in there that helps to resist some of the absorption of the ink. A lot of fountain pen paper has a pretty high clay content. It's not ever something that they publicize or, say on the paper that it is, but pretty much you can assume if a paper is really, really smooth, it's going to have a higher clay content to it. And the dry time is going to be longer because the clay is going to help resist the absorption of the ink into the cellulosic fiber. Now, it's super generalization. There could be other chemicals and stuff in there that I'm just not, oversimplifying it, but that's sort of what was going on. So when you're generally speaking, when you're talking about cotton paper, you're talking about a pretty dang absorbent paper. So that said, the only cotton paper that I know of that we've ever carried has been original Crown Mill cotton card stock, or like cotton, like not card stock, but the laid paper, the what's it called, the tablets, like the stationery.
Yeah. There's laid and
correspondence
then
paper.
there's cotton.
Yeah.
But so it's like A5 stuff.
Yeah, it was very toothy and it was quite absorbent. Not so, and it's high quality. So like here, the question that you're asking, about it being like high quality. Okay, I no doubt it's very high quality, but that doesn't mean that it's the best paper for fountain pen ink. I think it's going to be very absorbent. It's going to feel very soft, if that makes sense. Like the Crown Mill stuff, like you can actually feel while you're writing with it, it's got more drag to it. It's got more resistance. You really feel the difference in the type of paper that it is. It's subtle, but it's there. So I think that when you're dealing with any cotton rag paper, you're going to deal with a lot more of that. I think the biggest issue you're going to see with cotton rag paper, and it's going to be all over the place. There's no one brand I could tell you is better than the other because I just don't know it that well. Excuse me. Is it's going to be very absorbent. So that's the thing that you're going to be dealing with. So I think with that in mind, special type of nib, etc., and ink, you're going to go with something that has a less of a tendency to bleed through on the ink, not a super extended dry time. You want something that is going to be less likely to feather, that type of stuff, because the paper is going to want to do that anyway. So if you use like a super, super wet ink, it's going to bleed worse. It's going to ghost worse. It's going to feather and do all those things worse than it would on a more ink resistant paper. And then the nib, basically just going with a drier nib, a finer nib, trying to put less ink on the paper. I think that's everything you're going to be dealing with when you're talking about a cotton paper. Still,
yeah, but not an extra fine, because it being a more textured paper, you're gonna.
I think that's going to be the dance. That's going to be the dance that you're going to have to do, and you're going to have to experiment and see. The finer the nib, the toothier it's going to feel. Which, if it's already a toothy paper, could be just not a great writing experience for you, and it could actually like scratch up some of the cotton fiber and then clog up your nib and stuff like that. So
that's what's happened with me.
You're going to deal
when I've
with,
used the original Crown Mill stuff.
You're going to deal with more of that. Yeah. So it's going to be a fine balance for you to find. It's going to be highly preferential. But again, I think, going with something that, if you're going with, like, for example, like a Noodler's Eternal ink or something like that has a tendency to feather a little bit more anyway, because it spreads out, any type of fast dry ink, like the PR fast dries that we're getting into, any of the diatraumatis documents, maybe, like you're going to see some more spread and some more bleeding with some of those perhaps than you would maybe with a conventional ink. I think you're just going to have to experiment a lot. But it's another avenue to go down if you really like that style of paper. All right, next question. This one was specifically for you, Drew. Why do you think that brown pens and inks are not so popular? I practically only use brown inks and love my brown pens. Thank you for everything you do. The show is great. Drew, I know you are a brown advocate, not just because of your name, but you genuinely like the color brown and things that are brown. So I thought you could have a soapbox here to stand on for a minute.
I really do not understand why brown inks are not more popular, friend. They are a great way to be professional at work using a very, very dark ink that doesn't say, hey, look at me, I'm not using the aforementioned, approved inks, but yet I'm fun because I'm from a fountain pen and I am a different color. So dark browns are a great, fun way to used at the office a little subtly. There's a great variety. They always look good, especially with a light brown with some shading. And brown pens are delightful too. There was a, oh, stop it. Don't make that.
Are they?
Me, Brian Goulet. Yes. Do you remember that gold hardware diplomat excellence in that brown? Tell you what, I don't even know if we ever carried that one, but it was lovely.
I don't know if we did. I'm trying to remember it, actually.
The brown arrow got discontinued, but that was the best arrow. The coffee all-star was the best all-star, and that got continued.
That was a good all-star. That I'll give you.
It was. Yes. Brown pens are fantastic. They're lovely.
Yeah.
Okay. Amber Custom 823. I'm not going to drop this mic, but
well, I mean, the smoke pretty much goes head to head with the amber, and the amber's been around longer. So, it's I will say that's probably one of the more popular brown pens that we carry, though.
Definitely. And brown is one of the few things that can make gold hardware look nice.
That is true. Brown and gold, like you almost need to have gold hardware with brown pens like that. But
just saying.
Yeah. I would say if you call it mocha or like toffee or something like that instead, it just makes it more appealing to me. I don't know why. Like mocha, any type of like
mocha.
Drew mocha. I like that better. Yeah.
No, you do not. How dare
that's
you?
Better. Yeah. Yeah. Drew Cafe.
Quiet you.
Yeah. Drew Cafe. Olay.
Noodlers make some great brown inks. Noodlers brown is good. Noodlers number 41 brown is good. Walnut is good.
Mm-hmm.
And then Beaver, also good.
41 brown. I don't know if you said that one.
Yeah, I did.
Those are all good.
But it's still good.
Those are all good.
Yep.
Diamond chocolate brown.
Right.
Diamond chocolate is really good.
Mm-hmm. And Diplomat actually has a good brown.
The new ones? The new ink?
Caramel. Diplomat caramel. Yes. It's a good one.
There you go. I mean, Diamond Copper Burst. Ancient Copper.
I think we need to have
that would classify
a best browns ink sample set, Brian.
Pelican Brilliant Brown. That one's
I know you have feelings about that.
That one's OG right there. So fun little behind the scenes. Go ahead. Fun little behind the scenes thing. This happens sometimes. A little inside baseball behind the curtain kind of thing here. So, when we list new products, we will get information from the supplier. And this information could come in many forms. It could come by email, by a phone call, by, a
Pigeon
spec sheet of some kind. It could come through, in a pricer that's in like a spreadsheet. It could come on the product itself or the label that's on the outside box of the product. There's many different ways that something could be labeled. And often, I would not even just say sometimes, often it's not 100% consistent in every single one of these methods because there's a lot of different people, it's a lot of different things that have to do, and it's usually being changed from a different foreign language if it's coming from overseas, etc. So Pelican has a color called, is the actual name Brilliant Brown? I can't even recall now at this point, but in their 4001 series of ink, they have a Brilliant Brown. But it was either on the box or on the bottle. I can't remember which now because it's been over a decade. But one of them said Brilliant Brown. The other one just said brown. And I just, in my early days, was just very adamant about like, how can brown be brilliant? Like brown is just a earthy, flat color. Like there's nothing like brilliant is not a color that I would associate with brown typically, particularly with an ink. So Drew, of course, being very offended by that. We've gone back and forth with this over a decade. So now, whenever we bring up brown,
all of the other ones were brilliant. All the other ones were listed as brilliant, but you're like, no, not that one.
Well, because it was, I think it was the bottle itself said brown and like the box said Brilliant Brown or something like that. And I was like,
it gave you an out.
I was like, I'm going to write.
I'm taking it.
To this day, I think, if you look up Pelican Brilliant Brown, the swab, that composite that we have, I did the handwriting for that like a decade ago. It just says brown. It doesn't say Brilliant Brown. I think we've never corrected it. I think it's just been that little Easter egg. And so whenever we're talking about brown stuff, I'm like, is it Brilliant, Drew? And it's like a nice little, it's a nice little like zinger.
It is.
That we get to bring up all the time. Yeah. But anyway, hey, look, I think brown is great for those who love it. I think personally, I am more in love with brown ink than brown pens. Like I like brown pens sometimes, but I'm not like every brown pen that comes out, I'm like, oh, I gotta have that. Just not my jam. But brown ink, I see the appeal of a lot of different brown inks. Like I rarely see a brown ink that I don't like, to be quite honest.
There you go.
It can look like chocolate. It can look like tea. There's a lot of great things to go on. Sepia browns, I'm a big fan of those too. You get that kind of like old like handwriting kind of like old world kind of look. That like sepia kind of like you spilled some tea on your page and it turned into letters. I don't know what I'm talking about. Let's move on to the next question.
Exactly that.
Go ahead.
All right, Brian. Josh Yates is asking us, what is the next big project for Goulet Pens once things return to normal?
What is normal now?
Yeah, that part I didn't understand.
Well, we've gotten this question quite a bit, because obviously as the world changes and there are vaccines to be had and there are some elements of normal life that are coming out of this COVID thing. Obviously there's a temptation of like, all right, our life's been on hold. Now I want to see something really exciting coming out of this. Really, I took this question so that I could say nothing. Like we literally are just trying to keep going. And
you heard it here first, folks.
Everything's been, like our big project is to return to normal, whatever that is. Like we are still going to have to define like, what does normal look like for us? Are we going to have a like blended, most people in the office, but some people work remotely? And what does that look like? Because there's some lingering stuff here that's going to change things in the greater like working community and social community for the long term. So it's yet to be seen. It's unknowable, as the phrase would go, to say what that's going to be. But we are definitely not like sitting on some major big project so that when the whatever, I don't know, I'm picturing like the, Fauci like has a whistle, like Adult Swim is over and all the kids go running back to the pool. It's like, okay, everybody return back to society. We'll be like, okay, now we've decided that we are opening 6 locations and No, none of that. Like once things return back to normal, we're going to get back to normal and then we'll start planning some projects once we have the energy again. So like literally we're not holding on. We're not like sitting on anything that we're like, oh, I just can't wait to release this once we can XYZ. Nah, it's going to be a slow easing back into things. So we haven't gone away completely and we've been keeping doing our thing. And just like when all comes back, we're not going to like come out with some big banner raising, thing that we've been hiding. No, it's just, we're just going to keep doing our thing and be here for y'all, whatever that looks like. There you go.
Yep. I guess I've got another question coming up. It looks like we
had a whole
skipped something.
You can take 2 in a row. Go for it.
Cool. All right. Here we go. This one should be short because if you say anything else, I'm going to be upset. If you had to choose, Brian, this is from eBear Inc. on Instagram. If you had to choose Brian Goulet, should John Lane of Coles of London /Visconti /St. DuPont, John Lane shave his mustache or should Drew grow one?
Oh, 100% Drew should grow one. I mean, there is no doubt. No doubt. First off, I don't want to know what John Lane it might be hiding under that mustache. I mean, I don't think I want to see what's under there.
That's a good point.
Now, to be fair, he has sometimes shaved it down so much where you can actually like see the skin through it. You know how like if you have a mustache for a while, you like trim it down really hard. He's still got it, but it's like a week of a mustache, a week long growth, not like weak as in not a lot of strength, though that still applies. But he would be a fine looking guy with that mustache. But
Drew, however, if he grew out his mustache, it would be the saddest, most pathetic thing. There would be just like
you would have to
like sparse reddish, light brown, dirty awfulness.
It basically would look like if you took like a mascara brush and just like wiped it on your upper lip. That's what it would kind of look like.
Oh, it's so sad. It like grows in thicker on the edges too.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, oh God, it's so bad. You know what? I'm sure there's been a right now where both of us did No Shave November. Because we both did it at the same time.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Maybe we can go. Maybe we can go and link that in.
I don't think you would just a mustache would be so great, but you would have. No. You can pull off a full beard. You look surprisingly okay with a full beard.
That's because it takes the attention away from the upper lip.
Probably.
As long as there's a distraction there, so that you don't look at that.
But I feel like that's okay. Like there's definitely like famous like celebrities and stuff like that where you're like they do not have strong facial hair, but they still pull it off. You know what I mean? Like I think of I could Christian Bale, like he's one that I think of, and like what's his name? Shia LaBeouf, like not like known for having like a super strong beard, like it's pretty sparse and kind of patchy, but like
mine would be pretty neck beardy like Shia.
Yeah, it would be kind of like that.
He can see. I don't know what. Because he's been in some like period pieces where he's had a really full mustache. I don't know how much of that was him though.
If it was enhanced,
but he can grow some pretty crazy facial hair. Shia LaBeouf though, that's a good example.
Yeah. That's kind of how your hair grows in. You could pull it off.
Just do it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I pictured before I could remember his name. I was picturing him on the green screen. Yeah, good stuff. All right. Next question: are there any fountain pens which are made of sustainable material? Sustainable material, like earth-friendly material. I'm assuming recycled stuff or natural material of some kind. Yeah, there are. Have you got any top of mind,
There are
Drew,
indeed.
that you know?
Yeah, we carry one.
Yeah. What is it? I can't remember.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I asked this question without actually having an answer. So I'm hoping you remember.
Actually, it's the Visconti Ecologic.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
That's made out of hemp.
There you go. Also, any wood pen. Wood is one of those things that, people think like, oh, it's wood, you're cutting down all the trees. Well, wood is like literally one of the most sustainable materials on earth because, the phrase doesn't grow on trees, like that comes from wood. Like wood literally grows on trees. So, wood pens are incredibly sustainable if it's made from in a responsible way, which all the pens that we carry, to my knowledge, are. So,
the Ecologic says it's made from bioplastic obtained from hemp plants, a non-polluting material that is equally very durable.
Yeah, there you go.
So, you got your hemp pen.
Yeah. Also the Noodler's pens, the the smelly ones.
The vegetal resin.
The vegetal resin, yeah. That is a surprisingly sustainable material. It's actually biodegradable too when you bury it in compost. It'll outlast our lifetimes. And
it already smells like compost.
And I don't know. It's got that weird smell. Drew, I know you sometimes you forget to put on deodorant. You're like, oh man, I smell, and then you're like can't stop smelling it.
Do I have an Ahab in there somewhere? What is happening?
But you can't stop smelling it. It's that musky. It's that I don't like the smell, but I can't stop smelling it. You know what I mean?
I have been known to go back to an Ahab and be like, there's always that second, oh my God, it's so bad. Oh, it's still bad.
Oh, it's still bad.
Why did you do that?
Why am I doing this?
Why did you smell that Ahab again, Drew? Terrible.
It's good. It smells like sustainability. That's why. Those are the ones that I have top of mind.
Nice.
There are probably others out there, but those are the ones that I have top of mind.
Yeah, there are definitely a few.
Awesome.
All right. Somebody on Instagram, I can't pronounce this thing, but why are gold stub nibs so rare? Is it a lack of demand, or is it just that steel is a better material for stubs? Brian?
I don't think it really matters per se whether it's steel or gold because you're not actually grinding the steel or the gold. I think more stubs tend to be steel because they are actually stubbing. Well, actually, I'm going to dispute what I literally just said. So most stainless steel nibs you see that are stubbed are not actually tipped with a tipping material. Because the tipping material, it's a whole extra step in the process. The tipping material itself is expensive and it's difficult to do and it's a lot of extra handwork. I think you can mass produce, you can machine a stamped stainless steel nib with a stub on it way faster and easier than you can produce a gold nib with the tipping and the hand grinding and all that kind of stuff. So that's why you see that. Yes, technically the stainless steel material is not going to be as hard as the tipping material would be on a gold nib when you're stubbing it. But, when you have a stub nib, there's a lot of material that's touching the paper. So I think it's going to wear in a acceptable enough time frame to where you can have it straight on the stainless steel. Whereas, a conventional nib, like a fine, medium, broad, whatever, is still going to have tipping material on a stainless steel nib. But a gold nib, you do not want to have an untipped gold nib. Even on a stub, it's still too soft. So there's all the extra cost of the gold, plus you're going to see that all that extra work involved with tipping and grinding and all that kind of stuff. And there's more. Drew, because we've done some grinding stuff ourselves, kind of messing around. It's a lot more steps to get a good, accurate stub ground on a tipped, especially gold nib, because if there's any additional pressure or flex that you're adding to it in the grinding process, that can mess it up a little bit. So it's just a lot of extra attention that it takes. So I don't think it's for a lack of demand directly, but I think it's because it's more difficult to do and it's got to be way more expensive that right there affects the demand of it. And it's just harder to get it right, wouldn't you say? Like a gold nib, gold stub nib. We just don't see a lot of them that are awesome. From the factory.
But I honestly wouldn't even say that they're that rare. Most European fountain pen manufacturers that make gold nibs make a stub. Sailor makes stubs. Pilot doesn't do a lot of stubs on their gold nibs, but really, I mean, they're out there. I mean, the Vanishing Point's got stubs, so I wouldn't even say that they're all that rare. I think that in Japan, just because of their,
it's not a Japanese like it doesn't suit the Japanese writing style, so
exactly,
it doesn't suit the language, so you won't really see them often.
Exactly. So that's one reason they're probably not as pervasive, but they are there. I don't think they're that rare. They're certainly not as rare as, flex nibs.
Yeah, but you're not going to see like, on a gold nib pen, you're not going to see like a 1.1, 1.5, 1.9 option on every pen they come out with.
No, certainly
you
not.
might see 1.1 or a 1.3 or something like that.
Yeah, but they don't even do that on your normal steel nibs either. Like Lamy does it, but that's pretty much it. Everywhere else is pretty much like, there's the standard nibs and then a stub, which is usually a 1.1.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
fair enough.
Yeah, All right.
Next one.
What you got?
All right. How do you clean a fountain pen where there's still ink in the converter that you want to save? Oh man, we get asked this so much. So much. It depends. It's not going to be a lot of ink. I'll start off with that. It seems like a lot, but the most that any conventional converter is going to hold is about a half a milliliter of ink. It's not a ton of ink. If you have a 30 mil or a 50 mil bottle of ink, you're talking about like 1 to 2% of the entire value of the ink, in that full converter. So it's like if you've got a third of a converter left, you're talking honestly about such a small fraction of ink. You can dump it back into your bottle if you want to. You risk slightly higher degree of contamination of whatever your nib maybe has come in contact with. If you got any like whatever paper fibers or dust and other schmutz and hand oils and stuff that could potentially be on your nib, when you dump that back in the bottle, honestly, there's usually biocides and stuff in the ink that are there to combat all that. So I wouldn't lose any sleep over it. I would say if it's a precious ink and if it's like, they don't make it anymore, I only have so much, okay, dump it back in there and just use it and fine, don't worry about it. Otherwise, honestly, you could just dump it down the drain and it's fine. It's going to be such a small amount in most cases. If you're just like, I've used half the converter, I really want to change colors. Do I really need to go back and dump it in the bottle and all that for like 3 drips that are going to come out? Personally, I used to do that and now I don't because I have 200 some bottles of ink that are sitting. I'm like, I could not in my entire like future family lineage use all this ink. So I'm just not going to sweat it, but it's really up to you.
Yeah, my thoughts would be if it is precious to you, you want to save every last bit, and you're just cleaning this to then put it back in, put it back in a sample vial or something like that. If you really wanted to, if you have a bulb syringe that's totally empty and does not have any other liquid in there, you could use that to force some air through your feed and nib and get every last little bit out over the ink sample thing because it's going to spritz. Really just put it somewhere, clean your pen, and then just put it back in. But
I mean, the nature of the question, I could see it like the phraseology of it is like, are you supposed to do anything special with the converter and then clean the pen? Like you clean the pen just like normal, no matter what you're doing with the ink. You clean the pen, clean it with water. Like Drew said, if you're going to put the same ink back in or a similarly colored ink, you don't have to super deep scrub the pen out. Just clean it with water and you'll be fine.
Now, I wonder if maybe they're saying that because they have ink in the converter, but they only use the converter to clean the pen.
Right. Or like they want to, so maybe they need to clean out the pen, but they're not trying to dump the ink. Like I'm thinking if a pen is kind of dry writing and it's like, maybe my pen just needs to be cleaned out. The ink inside, it's fine. I want to keep using the ink, but I just need to clean out the pen. I could see that.
Yeah, so pull off the converter, and then spray some water in there using a bulb syringe and put the converter back on.
Yeah, you could use a bulb syringe, or you could just pull the converter off, dump the ink from the converter back into the bottle, just directly, and then use the converter, put it back on your pen, and use that to clean the pen. Then you've saved the ink. So unless you don't have access to the original converter, the original bottle of ink, so you filled it up from a friend or something like that, or at a pen show or whatever, then you're kind of stuck a little bit. But that's what I would do. Bulb syringe is the best tool. All right, one more, Drew.
All right. How do you clean out fallout from shimmer ink in feeds that you cannot remove. I like that term fallout.
Fallout.
That's kind of what it is. So normally, you would pull the feed out and give that a good scrubbing. But Brian, what do you do when you can't pull the feed and you've got shimmerness all over your nooks and your crannies?
You don't scrub it. You scrub what you can and don't scrub the rest. I mean, what do you...
There you go.
Well, how do you change
ultrasonic cleaner? Maybe I don't know.
You could do
but then you got to put like your whole grip section in there, and
ultrasonic cleaner, but not everybody like has one of those laying around. In those situations, I've found that a pen flush will often help, and just flushing it a bunch of times with a pen flush. Where you can't mechanically clean something, usually a chemical cleaning will not be as effective or as quick, but it can still do better than just plain water. So a pen flush or just like a dish soap and water kind of thing, some kind of chemical thing in there to help move it along where you physically can't get to those shimmering particles. What are you doing over there, Drew?
Just dropping stuff.
Yeah. That would be my answer, would be flush it with a cleaner of some kind and then just get on with your life. Don't sweat it. Especially if you can't see it. I mean, you'll be able to reach it with a toothbrush with everything you can see. So as long as it's flowing through and you've flushed it out, like that's going to pretty much get what you need to get out of it. But it's actually also pretty rare you can't remove the things. Like some people aren't comfortable removing, but Drew, you and I have disassembled a lot of pens at this point. It's pretty rare that a pen can't be disassembled like at all. It's just you need to know how to do it.
Yeah, like Viscontis, I wouldn't recommend pulling the feeds out of those things. They're
pretty
like
tight
the
in there.
Sapiens.
They're pretty tight in there.
Yeah, you can get them out, but ugh.
Yeah, I think most people just aren't comfortable doing it. So that's probably
so
more
it's
the case.
possible. Yeah, it's almost always possible.
Yeah,
to
but
Brian's point, but
if you do it and you ruin something, that's not going to be covered under like a warranty type situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's sort of like if you replace parts on your car and you screw it up in the process. That's not really a manufacturing issue. That's kind of your own thing. So.
Yep.
All right. I'm excited, Drew, because you said you had a hypothetical this week. So now that we're through the Q&A, let's do some hypothetical.
All right, Brian. So theoretically, you have two teleportation platforms for this hypothetical. One is always at your domicile, your place of habitation, and it can move if you move to a different house. That's fine. You can move that one. However, the second teleportation platform that will be on the other end where you can teleport to can be placed anywhere on planet Earth.
Okay.
But it has to stay there forever. Only you can use this teleportation platform. You can transport what you're wearing and then, something in a small, let's say, 8x8 box that you can maybe take a small lunch in or something like that.
Okay. Not like my backpack that I keep like 20 pounds of stuff in.
No, not your gigantic backpack. No.
Can I wear cargo shorts in this situation?
Yes.
Because I'm often wearing cargo shorts. So.
Yes, I know. Yes, you can wear your cargo shorts, Brian. So basically, where would you like to go? Have always have access to.
This is like we're not time traveling here. This is like current time.
No.
Like if I travel somewhere, time stays the exact same. I'm traveling back.
Correct.
It's not.
I mean, this is a platform that is on terra firma.
It's just a transportation mechanism. Okay.
Exactly, and it's none of this like you're dying and getting cloned. We're folding space time, so you don't have to worry about that either.
Is it like the movie
moving?
Is it like the movie The Fly, where if I like have another bug that's in there with me, I like morph into that like one being with whatever that animal. Have you seen the movie The Fly? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I have. No, you're not gonna. You're gonna be
so
fine.
I would be guaranteed because I wouldn't even want to step in that thing if I knew that was
guaranteed.
A risk. I got a lot of bugs around here. You've been to my place.
Guaranteed. Too. It is coded to your DNA.
Okay. That's a good question, Drew. Hypothetical. Okay, so where would I want the ability to teleport to in the world? But just one location.
You want to go to someplace, vacation-y, tropical, someplace that you enjoy being, or do you want to go to someplace that's really, really helpful? Like, I know a lot of people would just be like, oh my gosh, if I can just go to New York whenever I want to, that would save so much time and effort and money, or go to the West Coast, just for practical purposes.
I was going to say my most practical answer would just be work, just the office. Because that's,
oh my God,
that's the place that I like commute to the most. And if I didn't have to I could save like 20 minutes each way, like every time I go to work. That's a super lame answer though, so I won't go with that.
Super lame.
That's way too lame and practical.
I didn't hear that.
Gosh, that's a good question, Drew.
You saw The Last Jedi, right? The second movie in the Star Wars sequel trilogy.
Yes.
You know the island that Luke Skywalker exiles himself to with all the porgs on it.
Yeah.
That's a pretty solid contender.
Oh, that is cool. Yeah, I would probably pick some like really super like scenic location. Like the Swiss Alps or something like that. Somewhere
Yosemite.
Yosemite would be good. Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Somewhere that's like you could go there, recreate, and then just like come right back. I probably wouldn't choose a place. I wouldn't choose a place where there's like a ton of people. I would probably choose like a retreat place of some kind like that. I'm vibing with that.
Now, I, for you, would pick Japan, so you can go make some connections over there and get us some Japan exclusive pens.
I mean, Japan is pretty cool. They got some cool mountains and stuff over there too. Like,
I feel like that would be the responsible thing for you to do, Brian. Just go make some regular Japan visits.
I wouldn't hate that.
Bring us some better colors of the 823. I mean, come on, man. Don't be so selfish.
I wouldn't hate that. I like mountains. I would choose some kind of mountainous location. That's what I would do. Yosemite's good. That's a good one, Drew. That place is freaking beautiful.
I thought of this and I gave it a lot of thought and I could not come up with one. I was like, what about like an abandoned castle somewhere? Like it would just be like, yes, I live in this castle. And I even looked up, the Luke Skywalker island is called Skellig Michael. And I'm like, ooh, cool. Let me go there. And then I found out there's always like a groundskeeper there. So I need to avoid him because he'd be like, what are you doing here? Did you pay to get here? Who are you?
But Drew, you could totally befriend him and you could like bring him like exotic treats from your house, in your cargo shorts. You could bring him.
I'd have to wear cargo shorts, though.
You could bring him satellite wafers and circus peanuts and things that are probably very exotic to him.
I'm not trying to kill him.
You're good and plenty, all the pleasures of this world you could bring to him.
Oh, that's just hateful. That's hateful.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one.
So
I like that.
All right. Well, there you go. Well, let us know what you think. Where would your teleportation place be? You can't move it. Once it's there, it's there. So,
Drew, if I had to pick one for you, it would be Food for Thought in Colonial Williamsburg.
Oh, I do love that restaurant.
That would be a good one, right? You could go get your shrimp and grits anytime you want.
Oh, so good. Oh, what? Sorry.
Yeah, I was like, Drew's going to be imagining that meal now. And then I mentioned that. It's so good.
Anyway, yeah. Okay, cool. Well, there you go. There you have it.
Awesome.
That was, you were surprisingly agreeable on that one, Brian.
Well, that was a solid question, Drew. That was a solid question. And you appropriately caveated it with all of the
I did. I was
questions.
ready for you.
I could tell that you planned that out with like, what's all the BS that Brian's going to ask me to make this question unfun.
Yes.
No, it's good. It's good. All right.
I'll play your game, you rogue.
All right. We got a new segment in here that we have not done before. We alluded to it at the very beginning. And this is, credit to Drew. He came up with this one. We do get asked about this quite a bit. It's called FrankenPen. The idea was like, what components of a pen would you pick from like all of your favorite ones and make your own pen out of it if you could? It's not super practical. We're not beholden to any of these answers. We are just talking about some of the fun pen parts that we thought would be kind of cool. So Drew and I each broke it down. I'll let you go first, Drew, since it's your idea. And you can tell us like, what kind of FrankenPen that you would dream up if you could.
All right. Now, I don't know if this was my idea, Brian. I got this from that old document we were working off of a while ago, but yeah, sure, I'll take credit.
It was your idea to do it today.
Oh, yes, it was. That is true. Brian, we are at about an hour and 10 minutes, just FYI.
It's all good, man. We can go forever. Nobody cares.
All right. So breaking this down by parts. So my dream Franken-pen nib would be the Peniter quill nib. However, I would want that because I find that nib absolutely beautiful. It's got a good balance. I would want it custom ground though. I have a nib that's custom ground by Gina Salarino to an extra fine with added flex. She does a magic job there. So I'd want that because I have it on my Pilot 912. I want it on this. As far as a feed goes, Flexible Nib Factory makes ebonite feeds for replacement pens. I'd want one of those because that pen needs some extra flow for that nib, so it needs to be a 2-channel ebonite feed. For the grip, I like the grip on the Edison Menlo. It's also a similar grip on the Edison Ascent. It's got a really big honking stop so that your fingers, boom, cannot go any farther. I really like that. It's very, very comfortable. Probably my favorite grip. Filling mechanism-wise, I want it to be the same filler that's on the 823, the vacuum filler on the Pilot 823. As far as the barrel goes, I did some research, and the Tibaldi Impero celluloid is probably like the most sought after, most beautiful celluloid ever made. Brian, if you haven't seen it, I will show it to you.
I got to Google this real quick.
Mind. Dude, you're going to love it. It's this gorgeous gray with blue veining that just, it's unlike anything else. Anyway, I would want that. It needs to have an ink window because it's a vac. I need to see my ink level. Flat top, not cigar shape, with a piston knob, and I want it to be faceted like a Visconti Van Gogh, really small facets all the way around. For the cap, I want it to be the same cap as the Pilot Stargazer, which is discontinued, but has the most satisfying little when you cap it. I think it's beautiful. And the clip needs to be the same clip from the Montegrappa Lord of the Rings pen, Sting, the sword from the Frodo sword, Sting. I want that on there too, because why not? And then finally, just sterling silver trim on the whole thing. Perfect pen.
Like a raw sterling silver that you have to like polish and stuff? Or would you want it to be like coated?
Yes.
No, you want the tarnishing
I want it raw. I want it raw. It reminds me of coins.
Okay, fair enough.
So
I'll opt in here, Drew, rather than the Lord of the Rings. I would say you could do the Monograppa Chaos clip as well. Would also be a suitable.
See, I looked at the Chaos clip, Brian, and it is a fist holding a winged sword, and the sword seemed to bend down a little bit in order to actually function as a clip, and I don't like the angle. I also considered the Montegrappa Pirate pen, but it comes with a big old pirate skull with a big old tricorn hat that needs to be on top. And I'm like, that's just too ostentatious for me, Brian.
Oh, so you're going for practicality here with your ridiculous Franken-pen. Okay.
Clearly.
Fair enough.
Okay, Mr. Man, let's hear your Franken-pen and
mine's ridiculous.
How beautiful that is. I guarantee you the first thing you're going to say is going to be obnoxious. Go ahead. Go ahead. Let's say
that's all obnoxious. Mm-hmm. That's the whole part of the exercise. All right.
Oh, okay.
Starting off with the nib. I would go with the Namiki Emperor because it's the biggest nib. It writes beautifully. It's ridiculous. Yeah, I would go with that. Except I would want a custom ground to like a 0.7 millimeter stub. You know, like a small stub, something you can't get like anywhere. You know, like a cursive stub italic kind of thing. You know, Mark Bacchus could do a good job with that, I think, or Gina. They both could handle it well. Anyway, just a big honking nib. All practicality aside, it's just cool. The feed that comes on the Emperor obviously is suited well for the Emperor nib. So that is kind of an obvious one, but I love the look of the Pilot M90 feed, that like angular swooping kind of feed that just tucks up right underneath the nib. How cool would that look on an Emperor nib? Like how big would that feed swoop be? That would be kind of cool. So I'm going to go with that since this isn't even real. The grip, I like the Sailor King of pens. I like the size of that grip. It's for me, it's more about the grip diameter than it is necessarily about the shape. So I like, it's a big grip. I have big hands. I like a big grip that isn't too like slick. So I do like that. But I would want it to be made out of a hygroscopic material like the Homo sapiens lava material, or maybe an ebonite or something like that, because I have very oily hands and having a grippier material would be desirable for me. Filling mechanism, I love the conid filling mechanism. If ever there was a chance for us to carry their pens, I would do it in a heartbeat, but like it's only become less possible and practical over the years as we've been talking to them. So,
dude, do you even know how much they're going for on eBay right now?
It's ridiculous. Yeah, they're like, I don't even think they're taking orders for them anymore.
Oh no, they're not. They haven't in like a long time.
Like a couple, like a year or two at least. Yeah. So it's like, it's ridiculous. But the technology is so cool. I do love that filling mechanism. So that's cool. As far as the barrel goes, I love the sapphire cellulose, that Namiki Custom Impressions cellulose. I'm generally not like a die-hard like fleck material guy, but that celluloid is so good. So good. That, or, I love wood pens. So Amboina Burl is like my favorite wood pen. So going with like a nice Burl, like, kind of a rosewood color Burl pen, that would be cool. I would prefer more of a cigar shape, more like a King of Pens kind of thing as opposed to like a hard flat top, but they both look good. So any of those would work. And then incorporating an ink window in there somewhere, somehow. I don't know what that would look like, but I do like the functionality of an ink window. Cap cap wise, I would go with the hook safe lock threads from the like Homo sapiens or Visconti. I love the hook safe lock threading mechanism for the cap. So I would incorporate that in there somehow. At this point, this pen is about 12 inches in diameter to fit all this junk in one place. Like this is so impractical, but somehow this would all work. Clip wise, I don't really have like a clip that I pine for so much. It's probably one of the aspects of the pen I care the least about. It's more like, how do I not ruin this pen with the clip that's on it kind of thing, than it is like, oh, this clip is like what draws me to this pen. I don't really care. I love the spring clip, like a Lamy 2000 or like a Penite or something like that. Like I like the function of a spring clip. So I do really like that. But like aesthetically, I like the Pelican, like bill clip, or like the Montegrappa Elmo that's got the little wheel on the end. I feel like that's a really simplistic, but very functional kind of clip. So like a spring clip Montegrappa Elmo with the wheel on it would be cool. I don't know. That seems classy. And then
you don't have to have a clip. I mean, you can go clipless.
I don't know. Maybe.
Or roll stop. You could have like some Rubik's Cube roll stop or something.
I mean, that would be kind of cool. Roll stops are okay. But I do like clips, like especially when you put it in like a pen case, it just gives you a positive place to stop it, you know?
Yeah.
And then trim wise, I would go, I'm kind of like you. I kind of like with like a bronze or copper kind of thing. I like the tarnishing kind of thing. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's just cool. Or like a gunmetal. Like I like a ruthenium or like a darker kind of metal would be kind of cool.
For sure.
Depends on which of these other, like if I went the set, like the sapphire celluloid kind of thing, maybe the gunmetal. But if I go like the Amboina burl, it would go better with like a copper kind of thing. It's a little warmer than like the gunmetal. So there you go.
Yeah, I think you need Amboina burl. You've been crazy about that wood for so long. That's Brian at his core, you know.
It's good stuff. It's a beautiful wood. Yep. It's in the Babinga. No, it's in the Paduke family, I believe. Paduke. Yeah. I think that's correct. I think I remember reading somewhere that Amboina burl is like one of these conglomerated like names of woods. Sort of like African mahogany. It could be like 10 different species of woods, and they just call it like with that one thing. I think Amboina burl falls into that same thing, but I think it's Paduke burl is what it does often referred to.
Okay.
Anyway, no one cares. Literally no one cares but me. So
somebody does. Somebody's let Brian know you care.
No, you won't. You won't care. You can tell me you care in the comments, but I know that you're not going to care. It's fine. If you actually care, I'd be shocked. And then you should tell me in the comments. But don't tell me in the comments you care if you don't actually care. Like I don't need you to humor me. Like I'm strong enough in my own
hobbies
desires
within
for
the fountain pen realm. You know that. Anyway, hey, do you want to talk about what's happening?
I do.
Did I lose you? Hey, you're back. Hi.
Yeah, my internet connection is being real terrible today. So
that's fine. That's fine. It's nice to see you again.
Yeah. If we are talking over each other in today's broadcast, it's because we're like hanging up and I'm talking for 10 seconds and I realize Drew is not moved for 10 seconds and he's probably talking over top of me. Anyway, so that's just it. If he's not busy dropping his coin everywhere, like he's dropped.
I haven't dropped my coin. I dropped my coin once and I dropped another pen once.
Okay, fair enough. All right, what's happening?
Hey.
Well, you're listed first.
Well,
Drew.
it was Mother's Day. Yeah, we did the Mother's Day thing. It was pretty simple. I did, my wife's kind of Mother's Day thing with our kid. Let him appreciate her on Saturday, and then Sunday I appreciated my mom. So we had a little cookout at our house, and then for my wife's Mother's Day adventure, we went to Colonial Williamsburg because we're 75 and we love it.
That's where you should set your teleporter, Drew, is at Colonial Williamsburg, because I feel like that's where you go the most.
It's not far away. It's fine. I like the drive.
That's all good. That's fun, man. That's fun. Yeah, we did some Mother's Day stuff. Yeah. We laid a little low. Rachel wasn't feeling super great, but we still made the most of it. Yeah, and for me, I've been busy doing a bunch of outside stuff. It's springtime, lots of yard work, that kind of stuff. I got a new shed delivered. I ordered it like 2 months ago, and it finally got delivered, so that was exciting.
Heyo.
Had to put a ramp on the shed so that I could get the things into the shed that I need to, like my lawnmower and whatnot. I got a power washer, which normally no one cares about, but little Goulet history here. So I power washed houses with my dad in the early days of Goulet Pens. Like, essentially, if I hadn't been a power washer, I'm not sure Goulet Pens ever would have happened as it did, because it was in the kind of off season of the power washing that I was making pens in my spare time. And so due to the seasonality of the power washing business, that allowed me the time to do the pen making thing. So just kind of a happy circumstance. So I have not power washed anything in over a decade. And my father retired from his power washing business. So now I was like, well, my dad can't power wash my house anymore. So I need to figure out something else to do. So bought a power washer and been messing around with it. And I have like this caked up buildup of pollen all over our driveway that when it rains, it turns into like an oil slick. And it's just like I've wrecked my bike. Ellie's wrecked her scooter on our driveway due to this pollen. So I was like, you know what? Having a power washer to get that crowd off of there is probably not a bad idea. So been messing around with that and it's working great. And then, you know, Drew, you can empathize about what it is to have like an obsessive kind of hobby nature about yourself. You know, like maybe you get into gardening as an example. I'm just throwing that out just as a potential possible
Maybe you start
example.
collecting coins and Game Boys for no reason.
Could be. These are all examples.
Hypothetically.
These are all hypothetically things that you could get into, even while you simultaneously have other interests that you are still juggling. So, you know, being a individual like myself who also does that, I've been doing a lot of like tree cutting, you know, getting into that kind of stuff. There's a lot of arborists on YouTube that make videos and you can watch how they cut down trees and stuff, and getting into like knot tying and stuff like that. So I've gotten all into that. I was not a Boy Scout growing up. I had no formal training of tying knots. So to me, it feels very much like when I first got into fountain pens, which is like, oh my gosh, I had no idea this existed and was possible. And it's like, oh yeah, people have been like tying knots for thousands of years. Like this is nothing new, but it's new to me and it's really exciting. So I'm like, you know, I have like small ropes and stuff that I keep now around my abode. And like, as I'm watching TV or doing whatever, playing a board game with the kids and it's not my turn, I'm like practicing like cow hitches and truckers hitches and all these types of things. So it's a lot of fun. I'm very much enjoying the knot tying thing. So, you know, why not? Haha, why not? Didn't mean to do that, but it happened. Let's do the Compnay Updates. Compnay Updates. We don't have a ton of these, but we did take a mental health half day last Friday. That's been really good. We've done several of those this year so far, maybe like one a month or so. It's something that we, you know, can certainly consider continuing in the future. We got some holidays that are coming up. So we'll have some natural breaks in there anyway, but, you know, it's been received really well. It's worked out well for us. Like even just, you know, personally, Rachel and I as the owners, like have really enjoyed just shutting down the whole company for like half a day so we can all just get random things done, you know, take some time for our families and stuff. It's been great. So, had one of those on Friday. And another just weird random thing. So if you haven't heard, there was this like cyber attack on the East Coast pipeline, basically. I don't know all the details of it because I've had a lot of other stuff going on this week, but like every gas station around here is now out of gas. So we are dealing with that. I heard it could be better by this weekend. Don't know, but we're like, what do we do if people can't drive to work? Like it's kind of affecting like 80% of the gas on the East Coast. So we're dealing with that and in the middle of that. Have no idea how it's going to pan out. But as of Wednesday afternoon, when we're recording this, every gas station I've passed today has been completely bone dry. So I'm going to try not to drive very much if I don't have to. And that's just what's going on here.
Yeah, people are panicking and creating quite a bit of scarcity.
Yeah. I mean, there's like it's like the toilet paper or like the, what do they call them? Milk sandwiches that happen every time at the grocery store when, oh my gosh, like there's a threat of snow. Everybody buy milk and bread. Like, okay. Like you can survive without milk and bread for 2 days if you had to, probably. But like that's the thing that everybody goes out and gets. It's got that kind of vibe to it. You know, of course, then it just feeds itself because like you start to see gas stations that run out of gas and you're like, oh my gosh, I got to go get gas now. Let me drive all over
because
town.
then the scarcity is real. Becomes real very quickly because
yeah. So
anyway, that's a thing.
What are you gonna do? So there you go. Let's skip the what's on your desk portion, Drew, since we're going really, really long, and we'll just go right to the outro. All right.
Alrighty.
So we're going to intentionally not try to beat last week's. We still went pretty long though. Look at us. We are impressive, aren't we? Anyway,
we might have beat last week's. We're at an hour and 25.
It was like an hour 40 last week. It was pretty long.
Okay. Well, we're good then.
Yeah. What are you going to do? Anyway, we just want to thank you so much for watching. We really enjoy doing this for you all. We love your feedback. So please leave us some comments over on YouTube. If you are not on YouTube and you're listening to us in audio form, be sure to email us at pencast@gouletpens.com if you have any specific questions. Another thing I will say about this email, pencast@gouletpens.com, Drew, is we're getting all kinds of random stuff to there. We're getting people that are just like asking random things or just leaving us feedback. They're not being specific about whether it's for the Pencast or not. We've seen other people point on like Goulet Nation or other places online. They're like, oh, if you just have any random question, like just email these people. And it's like, well, that's not really what it's kind of for specifically the show. So anyway, we're having to sift through that a little bit. So anyway, if you are specifically listening to the show and you want to ask a question for the show, it helps if you put that somewhere in the subject or in the body of the email. That way we know we're not just being like randomly solicited and stuff like that, because that is just everything that happens with email addresses these days.
Yeah, if you actually have a question that you need help with, like troubleshooting advice, shopping tips, like, stuff like that.
Like what's the status of my order? It's like, that's not what that email's for. We'll just forward that on.
You can email info@gouletpens.com for our customer care team.
Boom. And we also might not pick your question for this show, even if it's a legit question, because we already go long enough and we have to cut it off somewhere. Probably should have cut it off sooner. But anyway, we're learning. Still, it's only episode 4. What are you going to do? Check out gouletpens.com for all your fountain pen, ink, and paper needs. Be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube, Instagram, and all of the other channels that we're on. And I will leave you all off with a random fun fact. Judith Love Cohen, who helped create the abort guidance system, which rescued the Apollo 13 astronauts, went to work on the day that she was in labor. She took a printout of the problem that she was working on with her to the hospital. She called her boss and said that she had finished the problem while in labor. Bamf lady. The baby that she gave birth to? Jack Black. Celebrity, actor, musician, comedian. And I verified this. It was on Snopes and everything. It was like, is this for real? And it's like, no, it's real. Like Jack Black's talked about it. His mom was a friggin' BA, scientist, super mega smart lady, did all this amazing stuff for NASA. It's pretty cool. Look up Judith Love Cohen. Very inspiring lady.
That is awesome.
Yeah. There you go. That's all we got for you this week. Thank you so much, everybody. And right on.